Hello my buddies, welcome to a review video with Kim Tech. My name is Kim. Before we talk about today's topic, I want to share that this is the last video of this year because there's so much going on with me personally that I cannot turn out more videos for 2024. As if you've been following me for a while now, I'm sure you've noticed my lack of activity since my change of job earlier this year. So I just want to wish everyone happy early holidays. Anyway, today we will be reviewing the ASUS ZenWiFi BQ16 Pro 2-pack Wi-Fi 7 mesh system. This feedback is from my personal use with my home layout, so my thoughts may be different from yours. If you share the same experience or have different thought, please drop it down below. As a disclaimer, I'm not going to go into all of the settings for this router because it's insane, the various settings you can do with this. Anyway, this review is going to be split into the following: the look, the setup, the app, and the ASUSrouter.com portal, connectivity, which includes speed, consistency, and coverage, privacy, and my overall thoughts. All links will be in the description box below along with timestamps so you can skip to the sections you want. Let's start out with the environment the setup is in. Our house is 2,264 square feet with a secondary family room on the second floor. There are around a max of 20 total devices all online at once, with probably no more than 5 devices streaming all at the same time. We bought the ASUS ZenWiFi BQ16 Pro 2-pack from Amazon for $1,299 and it advertises that it covers up to 8,000 square feet, so it should be more than enough to cover our home interior space. There's no information on the amount of devices supported, even when I asked ASUS support. But this is a very expensive system and definitely the most we've ever spent with our own money on a mesh Wi-Fi system to date. Is it worth it? Let's find out. Before we go into the look of the ZenWiFi, I want to comment on their packaging. First, they've definitely put some thoughts into the box opening experience. Here at the bottom right-hand corner, there is a crease. It's so you can lift the lid open, which then elevates the box upward to showcase the router units. I don't know if it's like this for other ASUS ZenWiFi, since this is our first time owning one, so let me know your experience down below if you've opened other ZenWiFi router boxes and they have dynamic box opening experience. Thought that was pretty unique and kind of cool. As for the routing unit, it's kind of the same size as my modem, definitely shorter than the TP-Link Deco BE16000. The dimensions are 8.43 inches or 214 millimeter in height, 6.86 inches or 174.2 millimeter in width, and 2.83 inches or 72 millimeter for depth. This 2-pack comes with 2 identical router units with 2 10 gig ports, 3 1 gig ports, and 1 USB 3 port on each of the units. It's insane that there is a 10 gig port here because my internet isn't even 1 gigabit yet. However, if you have a gigabit network or even a multi-gigabit network, boy, are the 2 10 gig ports going to come in handy for you, especially if you can use the wire backhaul. Also, the back of the routers has a lot of holes as part of the design. It may not be too noticeable at first, or at least so for me, but at an angle, the Wi-Fi 7 logo looks like it's either embossed or engraved, which is really cool in my opinion. And the holes may be a way to aerate and keep the routers cool. Although it has a heatsink, it doesn't have an internal fan. So maybe that's the reason for the various holes. Also, there are aeration holes not just on the back, but around the edges as well. And don't you guys think it's kind of cute that it has a rocker switch to turn off or on the router? I think this is definitely handy when trying to do a reboot without having to unplug everything and trying to plug it all back in. It's noteworthy that the LED at the front can be disabled if having it on doesn't match the placement aesthetic of the router because you may think it's too tacky for whatever reason. However, ours are left on so we can easily identify the router status by just quickly glancing at it instead of going to the ASUS router app or signing in to the web GUI. As for the setup, it wasn't hard. It was just different because the satellite unit, which ASUS calls node, has to be within the same room as the main router for the initial setup. Now, if you happen to set up the main router first without the node, because you didn't read the instruction like I did the first time around, then you just need to bring the node into the same room as the router, and you can add it on after the fact. This was my first time setting up an iMesh system, which took me around 10 minutes to complete if nothing fails. Definitely not the fastest setup experience that I've had. However, I've read that 10 minutes-ish is a normal duration for the iMesh system. Do you have the same experience with this? Please share with me in the comments section. Next, the app is the same as the web portal, asusrouter.com. So if you're not a fan of using the app, then you can make all the changes on the portal. Unfortunately, there's no MFA for the app or the portal. Now, this router mesh system has an insane amount of features for home use, majority of which are free. I mean, you can set up a network printer server. ASUS Easy Printer Utility allows users to access the printer connected to the USB port on the ASUS router. Users can set up printer server to enable devices in their LAN to use the printer through wire or wirelessly. Then there is eye protection, or is it called AI protection? Regardless, it leverages powerful cybersecurity solutions and cloud data centers from Trend Micro to shield your smart home and all connected devices from cyber threats. You can set up a VPN server with this as well, but since we already have an OpenVPN server set up with our Synology, we didn't really need this since our main purpose for VPN at the moment is to allow remote access into our Synology server when we're not at home, which we just need to enable port forwarding on the ZenWiFi router to use OpenVPN from our NAS. However, the ASUS various VPN options are great if you want to set up your own VPN server if you don't have one already. So next, there's AdGuard DNS. So like how I normally test with NextDNS or OpenDNS, AdGuard is just another DNS vendor that offers ad blocking and privacy protection features. And ASUS also offers parental controls with web and app filters and time scheduling. Another worthy of mention is the guest Wi-Fi network. Before you jump to a conclusion that I'm off my rocker, and maybe I am from your perspective, but hear me out. Guest Wi-Fi is free on all Wi-Fi mesh systems that I have reviewed so far. However, what makes this feature different that I think is very worthy mentioning is the various ways you can tweak your guest Wi-Fi and that you can create more than one guest network. And in case you're wondering why you need or want more than one guest network, well, it's really for segmentation. And ASUS made it really easy to see the segmentation purpose with some default guest profiles that you can add, such as Kids Network, IoT Network, VPN Network, and Multi-Link Operation MLO. As mentioned earlier, you can make quite a few tweaks to your guest Wi-Fi, such as Wi-Fi ban. This is based off of the IoT network profile because if you have smart devices at home, then you may have noticed that not all smart devices can use the 5 GHz and or the 6 GHz band. There's also MAC filtering, which I think is very helpful and plays hand in hand with parental controls as you can reject or accept only certain devices based on the MAC address. There's one more free feature that I want to briefly mention, but it seems a bit lacking. Under Traffic Analyzer, the traffic monitor shows the traffic from the different bands, which I think is pretty neat. Unfortunately, you cannot tell which device it's coming from. The last comment I want to make on the app and the ASUS portal is that when applying new Wi-Fi settings, such as turning MLO on or off, adding or removing an SSID, and etc., it takes a pretty long time, up to a few minutes. During this time, the network is unavailable. Now, I don't think it's related to the app or the ASUS portal itself, but it may have to do with how the router units are taking or making the software changes on the physical devices. Just thought I would share it under this section since we're talking about configs. Next, let's talk connectivity. This is the second Wi-Fi 7 mesh system that I reviewed on this channel. A few months ago, I reviewed the TP-Link Deco BE16000 from Costco. If you haven't seen already, then please check it out later. The ASUS ZenWiFi BQ16 Pro boasts blazing fast speed of up to 30,000 Mbps. Yes, you heard it right, 30,000 Mbps. This is cool and all, but it's worth noting that if you're mainly using this for your home network, mainly for browsing, streaming, or even playing games, then the speed is dependent on what you paid with your ISP, internet service provider. If you have 1 gig internet, that's only 1000 Mbps. Since this is a Wi-Fi 7 mesh system, it has quad band capability. This Wi-Fi 7 mesh system also supports a wider channel with up to 320 megahertz 4K QM, short for 4K quadrature amplitude modulation, and MLO, multi-link operation, which I'm going to oversimplify them here. The wider channel of 320 megahertz typically has a larger base speed in comparison to Wi-Fi 6 or 6E of 160 megahertz. Just think of it like a larger freeway for your traffic to travel on. 4K QM helps Wi-Fi 7 to have a much higher speed and efficiency than previous standard when working with supported clients. For reference, Wi-Fi 6 only supports 1K QM. ASUS states that 4K QM technology boosts data transmission rates by up to 20% over Wi-Fi 6 or 6E due to its higher QAM, which packs signals more densely, allowing for more data to be uploaded and downloaded. Then there's MLO, which is supposed to make a Wi-Fi connection faster and more stable because the Wi-Fi connection between two direct devices, which can transmit simultaneously over several frequencies, switching seamlessly between 6 GHz, 5 GHz, and 2.4 GHz bands simultaneously, enabling faster speeds with more reliable Wi-Fi connections. Pretty much the same idea as link aggregation in wire networking. Of course, these features work best in unison with other features such as multi-RU and puncturing and automated frequency coordination, AFC, but we're not going to go into them here because they're way too technical and not the scope of this video. I only mentioned the 320 megahertz channel width, 4K QM, and MLO because they're marketed on the ZenWiFi's product page, which I think are important to briefly explain what they are. Now, I was asked by Gaun, sorry if I mispronounced the username, if the ZenWiFi BQ16 Pro comes with AFC. I read somewhere that it did, but I couldn't find anything about AFC on the ASUS product page. By the way, AFC is the acronym for Automated Frequency Coordination. To put it simply, AFC allows the 6 GHz band to have around the same range as the 5 GHz, so it would greatly help with the speed, strength, and coverage. Anyway, since I couldn't find anything definite on AFC, I decided to reach out to ASUS support to confirm with them about AFC and about what my DNS traffic picked up, but more on that later. The ASUS support person came back and confirmed that the BQ16 Pro currently does not have AFC, but it will be available via a firmware update in the future. So it's something that we can look forward to if you are getting this model. But with all these features, was the connectivity any better for me? Before I answer this question, It's worth noting that as great as all these features are, in a real environment, the theory may not perform fully to their capabilities due to various factors, such as your actual home internet speed from your provider, whether it's cable, DSL, or fiber, your home layout, and if you're like me and currently don't have any devices that support Wi-Fi 7, then the router's full potential won't be realized. With all that said, I am blown away by the speed. This may be the fastest mesh Wi-Fi router system that we've used so far. While my husband is streaming his anime show, I was getting 445 Mbps for my download speed. As mentioned earlier, all of the Wi-Fi 7 features can only be realized if your devices support Wi-Fi 7. Since we currently don't own Wi-Fi 7 compatible devices, features such as MLO didn't make a difference for us, which can be seen here based on the speed test with the open speed test on the Synology server. Thank you, Gown, again apology for butchering the username, for the recommendation of hosting the speed test on my server. It was really cool setting it up and a lot more simple than I thought, so thank you very much. Also, the range of the ZenWiFi BQ16 Pro is just amazing, which I wasn't anticipating since we had bad experience with the 2 Orbi units from Netgear previously. With only 2 units from the ZenWiFi BQ16 Pro, we didn't encounter any loss of connection unless the main unit goes down for our 2,264 square feet home. Maybe it's due to the fact that both units each having 12 internal antennas. Now, how's the privacy concern on this mesh system? Well, let me share with you a list of traffic that NextDNS picked up. I searched up each one and was only able to find info on some of the destinations. For the rest, I had to reach out to ASUS support to get further clarification. I'm not going to read off each one, but here's also the purpose for each one of them. The strangest one for me is the traffic to AAE-SGWeb001-1.asus-com with a double M.com, which I'm going to just call it AAE short for our conversation here. When I was chatting with their online support, they confirmed that AAE is for the eye protection feature, which leverages powerful cybersecurity solution and cloud data centers from Trend Micro. But the thing is, I have eye protection disabled, so why would there be traffic to AAE? Peculiar, isn't it? I asked the support person why I'm seeing this traffic for AAE if eye protection is disabled, which you can see from the screen here. The funny answer I got was even when disabled, traffic will still be going to this because it assists in knowing when you're entering a malicious site and also detect it. I further asked if there's a way to disable it, and of course the answer was no. Since I had an open ticket for the escalation on my question about AFC, I took the opportunity to ask the support person about AAE as well, and got a totally different answer. Feels like they're playing tricks on me here. Anyway, the support person that this request was escalated to states that according to their higher department, due to security concerns, they prefer not to share which functions AAE is related to. They went on to say that the traffic to AAE is related to ASUS tunnel services. So what did I do? I responded to them having to confirm if it's only related to ASUS tunnel services, and they did. Unfortunately, I haven't learned how to read network traffic with Wireshark, so I'm not sure what to make of this. However, if you're using the ZenWiFi BQ16 Pro as an access point or AP mode and not as the main router system, then you probably won't encounter these traffics. Now, I did try to block AAE in multiple ways, and it didn't make any noticeable difference to the performance. I was able to block with OpenDNS, which appears to be successful. However, when I tried enabling URL filter on the ASUS settings for the first time, It completely disconnected to the internet, even though I'm using a deny list to filter out only URLs that I don't want. I had to disable the URL filter for my internet connection to be active again, then enable URL filter back for it to work properly. Anyway, ultimately, AE seems to be blocked with the URL filter setting from ASUS itself. Overall, I appreciate the design from the box opening experience to the router units themselves. It's so cool to see so many available free features that we can enable with ASUS. My favorite of all would be the speed on this thing. And we don't even have Wi-Fi 7 devices yet. So can you imagine once we do? Yo, I'm expecting great things from the system. However, I have my disappointments, such as the inconsistent support responses. I'm not surprised though, since big organizations could never get their support team to share consistent information. And of course, not a fan of the AAE traffic. However, the most disappointing part are the glitches of the system. When it works great. But there are times where we wake up to the system being down, have to make changes twice because the first time would take the whole system down, or the few times where the speed would just drop to a fraction of what it should be. Now, I've tried disabling dynamic frequency selection, DFS, to fix the glitches, which was suggested by a viewer. So much for the suggestion. ASUS explains that DFS uses 5 GHz Wi-Fi frequencies that are generally reserved for radar, such as military radar, satellite communication, and weather radar. Well, since we're not using any radar specifically at home, so we thought it wouldn't hurt to disable and see if it makes a difference. Unfortunately, maybe it's just our unit, not really sure. Please share with me your experiences if you have the system. Anyway, hope you all find this video helpful. If you do, please click the thumbs up and subscribe. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it down below. Thank you again for watching this video and have yourself a nice day or night wherever you are, my buddies. Until next time, bye.